The receipt fluttered in the waitress' trembling hand like a verdict already decided, and when she saw the number written at the bottom, her breath caught in her throat. $0. No tip, just an empty line where hope should have been. For a brief second, the noise of the diner faded, the clatter of plates and hum of voices dissolving into a hollow silence, as if the world itself had turned its back on her in that moment. She didn't yet know that beneath the cold ceramic plate, hidden from careless eyes, something waited that would change the course of her life forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the darkest moments can hold unexpected light, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Her name was Maria, and life had taught her to expect disappointment before it ever offered relief. Every morning before dawn, she rose quietly from the narrow bed she shared with her 6-year-old son, careful not to wake him as she slipped into her worn shoes and threadbare jacket. The apartment was small, the walls thin, the heater unreliable, and the rent always looming like a shadow she could never outrun. She worked double shifts at the roadside diner, balancing trays and forced smiles while silently calculating how many hours stood between her and eviction, how many days of groceries remained, how many nights she could stretch a single pot of soup. Being a single mother had never been her plan, but when her husband left without warning, leaving behind only unpaid bills and unanswered questions, Maria learned that plans meant nothing when survival took over. That afternoon, the diner felt heavier than usual. Rain streaked the windows, smearing the outside world into gray lines, and customers came in with damp coats and bad moods. Tips were scarce, patience even scarcer. When the man walked in, no one knew who he was, but something about him shifted the air. He wore a simple dark coat, nothing flashy, yet he carried himself with a quiet authority that made people glance twice. He chose a corner booth, ordered modestly, and barely looked up. Maria noticed him because he was polite in the way people often aren't when they think their money gives them power. She refilled his coffee without being asked, cleared his plate quickly, and kept moving, her feet aching, her back stiff, her mind drifting to her son waiting at home with a neighbor. As she wiped down the counter nearby, she caught fragments of conversation from other tables, complaints about prices, grumbles about the weather. She wondered if tonight would be another night of calculating whether to pay the electric bill or buy new shoes for her growing child. When the man finished his meal, he stood, placed the receipt face down, and walked out without a word. Maria waited a moment before approaching, already bracing herself. She had learned to read the signs. People who left quickly often left little behind. When she picked up the receipt and saw the 0 tip, her heart sank, not in anger, but in a quiet, exhausted acceptance. It wasn't the first time, and she doubted it would be the last. She began clearing the table, stacking plates with mechanical precision, her eyes stinging more from fatigue than tears. As she lifted the main plate, something slipped and landed softly against the tabletop. An envelope. Plain, white, unmarked. For a second she froze, unsure if it belonged to another customer or if she should even touch it. Her name wasn't on it. No name was. Just the envelope, heavy enough to make her hands tremble as she picked it up. She looked toward the door, but the man was already gone, swallowed by the rain. Inside the envelope was not just money, though there was money, more than she had ever held at one time. There was also a folded note, handwritten, the ink slightly smudged as if written in a hurry or with emotion held tightly in check. The words inside didn't explain much, but they said enough. They spoke of seeing her exhaustion, of recognizing the quiet strength it took to keep going when no one was watching, of remembering what it felt like to be invisible. The note said the tip wasn't 0, not really. It said sometimes the biggest gifts are hidden, waiting for those who keep showing up even when it hurts. Maria sat down in the empty booth, her knees weak, her breath uneven. The world rushed back into focus, the sounds louder now, sharper. She counted the money once, then again, afraid it might vanish if she blinked too long. It was enough to cover her rent for several months, enough to fix the car she'd been praying wouldn't die, enough to buy her son the shoes he needed and the school supplies had been too shy to ask for. But more than that, it was proof that someone had seen her, truly seen her. Later that evening, after her shift ended and the rain slowed to a drizzle, Maria walked home with a lighter step. The envelope was tucked safely in her bag, but its weight felt different now, not heavy but grounding, like an anchor pulling her back to herself. When she opened the apartment door, her son ran to her, his small arms wrapping around her waist, his laughter filling the room in a way no amount of money ever could. She held him longer than usual that night, breathing in the familiar scent of soap and crayons, whispering silent promises she didn't yet know how she would keep, but believed, for the first time in a long while, that she might. Days turned into weeks, and Maria used the gift carefully, stretching it not just to survive, but to breathe. She paid overdue bills, fixed what needed fixing, and for the first time, allowed herself to imagine a future that didn't feel like a narrowing tunnel. She enrolled in night classes she'd once abandoned, trading a few hours of sleep for the chance to learn skills that could open doors beyond the diner. It wasn't easy. Some nights she cried from exhaustion, her textbooks blurring as her son slept beside her on the couch. But every time doubt crept in, she remembered the envelope under the plate, the reminder that kindness could arrive disguised as indifference, that hope didn't always announce itself loudly. Months later, the diner changed ownership, and Maria was promoted to a supervisory role, her reliability and quiet leadership finally recognized. She trained new staff with patience, reminding them that every customer carried a story they might never hear. She started a small jar behind the counter, an unofficial fund where leftover change and occasional generosity went toward helping coworkers in emergencies. She never told anyone about the billionaire, because she never knew his name, and perhaps that was the point. The impact wasn't in who he was, but in what his actions set into motion. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the diner windows and her son sat at a corner table doing homework, Maria paused to watch him, a soft smile on her face. Life was still hard, it probably always would be, but it was no longer hopeless. She had learned that even when someone leaves a zero on a receipt, it doesn't always mean they took something away. Sometimes it means they left something deeper, something that couldn't be measured in numbers alone. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that kindness can appear when you least expect it, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who may be standing at their own breaking point. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word that represents hope to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Maria never saw the man again, but she carried the lesson with her always. That one moment, that hidden envelope, became a quiet compass guiding her. Choices, urging her to look for the unseen, to believe that dignity and compassion still existed even in a world that often felt rushed and careless. And somewhere out there, perhaps the man walked on, unaware of how profoundly he had altered the life of a single mother and her child, how a $0 tip had become the most valuable gift she would ever receive.